Good evening and welcome to episode 47. As always, we will start with our gratitude attitude. So, gently close your eyes, take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax your body. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, relax some more. Take one more deep breath. This time, completely let yourself go. Now, think of one thing that you're thankful for that happened in the past week. Once you have identified that, think about why you are thankful. And now it's time to let it go. If you are by yourself, say it out loud what you are thankful for and why. If you are with someone, tell it to each other. Okay, so today we're going to look at ignorance. But wait, I'm a wise person, you might say. I'm not ignorant. Well, let's take a look at that real quick. If you think about it, all of us are afraid of something or other. Most of our fear is a direct result of ignorance. We are afraid of things or people that we don't understand. Just because it is not in our experience, we tend to stay away from it. Instead of learning about the subject and trying to get over your ignorance, we tend to fight, flight, or freeze, right? The classic response. This was a good option back in the days when we were still hunter gatherers and needed to save our lives from the elements. But those days are over, and we still have not adapted ourselves. Not your fault for sure, but we can blame our genes for that. We are all afraid of terrorism. Why? Because we don't know what type of violent attack will come where and when. That unknown is what strikes fear. I guess if we knew something was coming, we would prepare for that, right? So when I say we are all ignorant, I'm not talking about your intellect. One can be intellectual and ignorant at the same time. How is that possible, you might ask? Well, look at someone who is specializing in a particular field. They are formidable experts in that field. They know all the nuances and intricacies. But outside of that little field, they may not have basic knowledge of day-to-day life. They'll get lost if you put them in downtown. So one could say they are intellectual and ignorant at the same time. Another way to look at this is to know that to be intellectual and to be wise are two totally different things. I know so many so-called experts whose judgment may be questionable. Hopefully this makes sense, right? So here I'm talking about how we all lack the knowledge about the ultimate truth as to how phenomena exist. We talked about this at length, right, in our emptiness teachings, as to how all phenomena are like a dream in their dependent existence. And some of us may have developed a theoretical acceptance of that, but it's not certainly in our experience or in our practice. All phenomena have dependent existence. This means that everything that we see and experience does not have an independent inherent existence. All of that plays out in our minds, if you will. And we talked about that in the past. So, why is it that we are grasping so tightly? That is where ignorance comes in play. We grasp this phenomena like they are rock solid. But if we look back on our own lives, we realize that things are constantly changing. I want you to go back in time. Think about a 12-year-old version of yourself. I am sure you were with love with that person. You held on to that person so tightly. You could do no wrong. You probably had an inflated opinion of yourself. Now, looking back, you realize that 12-year-old self is no longer there. Hope you are today much different person than you were 12-year-old, right? Hope we all grew. So who you are today is much different from that 12-year-old person. Your thoughts have changed. Your taste in life has changed. Your dreams and aspirations have changed, and so on. I'm sure I've changed a lot. So can you see your 12-year-old self was inherent existent? If it was, it would not have changed, right? But it's our ignorance that was grasping that 12-year-old self. And it's the same ignorance which is grasping our today's self. If you can intellectually realize that your 12-year-old self was not inherently existent, right? Constantly changing. And what makes you think your current self is? I know it's tough to take it in, but if we are intellectually honest with ourselves, we won't grasp ourselves so strongly. And that's all I'm trying to say here. Because if we stop grasping ourselves so strongly, we will not take ourselves so seriously. And that's the key here. We take ourselves so seriously. And because of that, we close ourselves from everything else, right? But if we stop taking ourselves seriously, it would open up so much harmony in this world. So, how do we develop that wisdom of not taking ourselves so seriously? The easiest thing to do is to start by being mindful. That's all. in our daily activities, let's be mindful that things are not the way they appear. Just acknowledge that without doing absolutely anything else, right? That nothing is rock solid. If we start developing that mindfulness, our attitude towards events and phenomena will change for the better. So, in today's meditation, we will first settle down at our hearts as always. Then, let's try to imagine our mind is this vast, bright, sunny sky, and thoughts are clouds that come and go. This is one of the basic meditation, empty sky meditation. We'll observe the thoughts that may come and disappear in this vast empty sky. We won't chase it. We won't give it any attention. Just observe them. If we just observe, we will notice that they'll disappear. And then we'll focus on that empty-like nature of space. That's the plan. If you are ready, let's begin. So let's get into our meditation posture. Sit comfortably in a cross-legged position. If you're sitting on a chair, make sure your legs are straight. Keep your back upright. Your shoulders leveled. Gently close your eyes. Keep your mouth just a little bit open. So any tension you may have accumulated will dissipate. Put your palms in your lap, right over left, thumbs gently touching. And now take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax yourself. Bring your attention to the sensation of your breath. Feel the cool air as you breathe in. Feel slightly warmer air as you breathe out. Continue to focus on the sensation of your breath for about a minute or so on your own. Now, bring your attention to the center of your heart. Imagine everything that happened before this moment melts into light and disappears. Things that are not yet happened are not real anyway. So it is just this moment. Enjoy the peace that this moment brings. Let that peace build the peace for the next moment. Now, imagine your mind is this vast blue empty sky, and thoughts are like clouds. Just like clouds, thoughts come out of nowhere and disappear in the bright blue sky. If a thought comes, gently acknowledge it. Don't chase it, don't analyze it, and it will go away. Just enjoy bright empty sky. That is the clarity of your mind. If you find yourself carried away by your thoughts, go back to sensation of your breath for about 5 breaths, and it should go away. And then bring your focus back to the empty, bright blue sky. Continue your focus on the clarity of your mind. If a thought arises, gently acknowledge it, and it should go away. If your thought carried you to the ball game, please come back. Bring your attention to the sensation of your breath for about 5 to 10 breaths, and it should go away. Keep your focus on the clarity of your mind the last minute or so on your own. When you are ready, gently open your eyes. Okay. Any questions? Go ahead, Sapan.
No, I just thought the topic about ignorance and fear is pretty deep.
Yeah.
And I think the um, more you get reading around those things, more you can control some of your fears, and subconsciously we continue to drive towards solutioning that fear. And sometimes all you need is just understanding why I'm fearful for that. So I think a very good topic, something to deep dive into.
So one thing I would add to that, Sapan, is that we all have our karmas or wireds or whatnot, which tend to drive us towards something. Maybe that fear, maybe something wrong we are doing, whatever that case may be, right? And we need strong willpower to bring us back to where we think we need to be, rather than those uh, predisposed attitudes or whatnot we tend to have, right? And that could be wherever it's coming from, but we tend to make some of the same mistakes over and over, if you notice that, right? um, so we tend to be fearful about the same things over and over again, and that's where the willpower comes in, is to we have to apply that consciously and say, yeah, no, that's just my ignorance. So I think you're mute.
No, I said that. Yeah, that's true. And I think I think it takes a little more analysis sometimes to write down your fears and then go into like, really, is that really a fear, or it's just that you haven't figured it out yet in terms of like what are your ignorance around that topic is. So yeah. Uh,
Go ahead.
yeah, and from parenting to, you talk about friendship to, there are ups and downs in life altogether.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all comes down to that.
And sometimes, what I notice that on the surface, it seems like I'm afraid of this, but then I really go deep into it. It turns out that that's not really what I'm afraid. I'm afraid of something totally different, right? So I noticed that, and I'm not sure that's your experience or not.
Oh yeah, no, it's so true. It happens all the time. It just like it takes a little bit of time to sit down and write those things down, and then you go into details of that. And once you start putting a narration around that, you kind of like really start peeling the onions and like, is it really true? Is it really true? Like
Exactly.
I'm like, my kid is not doing this or that, and I'm like, is it really fear that, like, what is my fear? Like, oh, she's not gonna make it to Ivy League. Does it really matter?
Does it really matter, right? Exactly, exactly. So funny you said that. My attorney and a very good friend of mine, he's my personal attorney for now 25 years. Okay. So we go back before our kids were born, and both Ish and his son are of same age. So we kind of chat a lot. And when Ish was in high school, we'll talk about things. And I say, no, I want him to, make sure he goes to good school, this, that. And he would always say, Nirav, of all the things in the world, I'm not worried about where Ish shines up. you know, he says he'll be just fine. And that's the thing, right? We have this, and I think that comes from attachment more than ignorance. I think that is attachment, right? We are so attached to our kids that sometimes we suffocate them, you know.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, I heard this, and I may have said this before. Somebody had told me a long time ago that, you know, don't leave your dreams to your kids, because that's the worst thing you can do to a kid,
Yeah, no, that is true.
right? So
Premal can attest some of those things about the
yeah,
parenting.
sure, Premal.
Yeah, well, it's very tough. We all say that. We all want them to do good, but I do agree that, yeah, I mean, I've seen cases where people have moved out of the house into an apartment so that their kid can go to a school and then go to Ivy
Crazy,
League,
right?
and it's totally crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
I may not totally